White House counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, was, quote, counseled after she promoted Ivanka Trump's clothing and shoe line in a Fox News interview from the briefing room today. Conway was talking about that clothing line, of course, after the president criticized Nordstrom for dropping his daughter's brand for what Nordstrom says were declining sales. We're digging for more details on that story while the White House answers more questions about whether President Trump's Supreme Court nominee disapproves of the president's tweets attacking federal judges. The president is angrily disagreeing with that allegation, and as you might expect, the president's disagreement, well, it quickly got personal. CNN senior White House correspondent Jim Acosta joins me now. And Jim, the White House says that Judge Gorsuch was speaking only generally about attacks on the judiciary, not singling out the president's tweets and comments.
It is Gorsuch a mess, Jake. The White House appears to be just fine with Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch after he expressed dismay with attacks on the judiciary in the wake of the president's comments on the judges handling the case of the administration's travel ban. Instead, President Trump and his top aides are directing their outrage at the Senate Democrat who first revealed Gorsuch's remarks.
You condemn the remarks by the president.
For President Trump's pick for the highest court in the land, it's a supreme turn of events. Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch was asked in a private conversation by Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal about President Trump's attacks on federal judges.
There's no question that Judge Gorsuch said to me that he found these attacks on the judiciary by the president to be disheartening and demoralizing.
The president's response, he didn't go after Gorsuch, he ripped into Blumenthal, resurrecting the senator's past false claims that when he was in the Marine Reserves during the Vietnam era that he actually served in Vietnam, then accusing him of misrepresenting what Gorsuch actually said. An attack the president repeated after meeting with Senate Democrats who are facing tough re-election battles.
His comments were misrepresented, and what you should do is ask Senator Blumenthal about his Vietnam record that didn't exist.
But the White House may be threading a needle here, claiming Gorsuch was only speaking generally, pushing back on the notion the judge was being specifically critical of the president.
The judge was very clear that he was not commenting on any specific matter, right? And then he was asked about his general philosophy. He literally went out of his way to say, I'm not commenting on a specific instance.
That may be a distinction without a difference. Even if Gorsuch was speaking broadly, the president's attacks on the judiciary would clearly meet the standard of disheartening and demoralizing. And it's at odds with what Blumenthal claims. Blumenthal says Gorsuch told him there was no need to keep his feelings private.
In fact, Judge Gorsuch specifically said you should feel free to mention what I said about these attacks being disheartening and demoralizing.
As well as what a fellow Republican said after he met with Gorsuch.
Disheartening is a great word. Judge Gorsuch and I actually talked about that, and frankly, he got pretty passionate about it.
Top Democrats are now signaling their new strategy for Gorsuch's confirmation hearing, insisting that the judge condemn the president publicly.
To whisper to a senator but to refuse to say anything public is not close to a good enough show on independence. So, from my view, not a good start for Judge Gorsuch. Not a good start.
Senate Republicans are offering a glimpse of their talking points, too.
I think that what Judge Gorsuch is showing here is his independent character, the fact that as a judge, he's going to call them as he sees them.
Either way, the judge's comments are now a test for the White House, where the president is still praising his pick.
He'll respect and very much respect the Constitution as written, and he will apply the law as written. He's a mainstream judge, very much mainstream, and I urge you all to confirm him.
The White House also expressed frustration that President Obama was not scrutinized in the media when he criticized the Supreme Court's decision in the Citizens United case. But what President Obama said is hardly the same kind of attack that President Trump leveled against the judge handling the travel ban when he said they would be responsible, or that that judge and perhaps the appellate judges handling this case right now would be responsible if there's a terrorist attack. Jake?
Jim Acosta, thank you so much.